morning, Trailer Estates. Thank you all for being here. I'm so excited that we have such a good crowd. My name is Misty Servia. I am your Manatee County Commissioner for District 4. And the reason that I'm here today is to talk about the redistricting effort for Manatee County. Every 10 years, the U.S. Census is done and population figures are taken. And the laws require that we adjust the districts throughout the state, the county, the cities, everywhere to reflect the population. One of our biggest goals is to equalize the population for representation. So I want to start by thanking Trailer Estates for hosting this event. Dwayne, I appreciate you very much. He's in the back. He's really helped us. And METV is here today. And I'm so thankful for METV and Charles Clapsaddle because they are allowing us to get this word out to even more people after this event. So today I want to tell you what Manatee County is doing for redistricting countywide and specifically about District 4, which we're sitting in today. So Manatee County decided to hire a consultant, a professional consultant that for 35 or 38 years has worked on redistricting efforts throughout the state of Florida. He's considered a top expert in the state. He actually was in retirement, and we convinced him to come out of retirement, or I should say Senator Galvano did, and said, please, could you just do this one more time for Manatee County? And so he did. So he came to us, and we gave him some rules. We said, look, we would like to, first of all, balance the population. Second of all, we would like as little disruption to the districts as possible. And third of all, we need to maintain the minority neighborhoods as required by federal law. Now, District 2 has the largest amount of minorities, and that's Commissioner Reggie Bellamy's district. My district is the second highest in minorities. But District 2 must be protected, all of those minority neighborhoods, and that's per federal law. So those are pretty much, the guidance that we gave him. And he came to us with the map that we label Proposed Map A1 and said, okay, here's what I've done. I have balanced the population, but he said I did something a little bit different because in Manatee County, we have 5 districts. And where is all of the growth taking place in Manatee County? Does anybody know? Districts 1 and Districts 5, right? Not so much over here because we've been built, for decades in this area. So the consultant said, with the board's direction, well, let's make Districts 2, 3, and 4 a little bit larger and Districts 1 and 5 a little bit smaller because these districts are going to last for 10 years. So hopefully with all the growth that continues throughout the county, we won't have lopsided districts right away. Okay, so that's what he did, and that is map A1. And I'm going to allow you time to look at these maps up close and ask questions, but for now I'm just going to give you just a broad brush overview. Then some other commissioners, one commissioner, our chairman, actually drew map Plan B, it's called. And she said, I think that we should do it this way. So this represents Vanessa Baugh's map. This map does not plan for future growth. It just more or less balances the population equally amongst the 5 districts. So the board said we're only going to consider these 2 maps, although they're both drafts. We're not going to, have a lot of maps in the mix because we're on such a short time frame. On December the 14th, the Board of County Commissioners will have a hearing, and hopefully we will decide which of these 2 maps, which could be adjusted in any format, we could move boundaries, hopefully we pick one of those, December the 14th. If not by the 14th, by the end of the year. Because guess what? The federal law requires that we do this on an odd year. So if we don't do it this year, we can't do it next year, and we would have to wait till 23 to do it, okay? So I do hope that we'll get there, and I do believe we will get there. So what would a dry presentation on redistricting be without making it a little more fun, right? So I thought we would have some questions and prizes. Okay, everybody ready for that? Okay. So as I explained, this is a process. That's what redistricting is. We are dividing and organizing political boundaries. So who knows? I need the first answer, raise your hand and shout out loud. Who knows? How often do we do this?
10 years. 10 years.
See, okay. I am, okay, yes. I only have a few prizes, so you got to raise your hand and I got to call on you. So I'm going to give it to you and I'm going to throw it to you. It won't hurt you. Okay, Christmas towels for everybody. Why is this process important? Why is this process important? Do you guys know why it's important? Yes, sir, in the back.
Provide representation on an equal basis.
Very good. To provide representation on an equal basis. You get a Christmas towel. I can't throw that far. I'm going to throw it to Natasha. She's going to give it to you. Okay. Also, it's in our Constitution. It's Amendment number 14 that says that we have to have fair representation for each vote. Okay, so that is why it's really important that we do this in an equitable manner. According to the 2020 census, nearly all of the country's population growth in the last decade was due to the growth of communities of color. And redistricting is our opportunity to ensure that our maps reflect this growing diversity. Okay, so who does this redistricting for Manatee County? Yes, Janine?
The commissioners.
That's right, the Board of County Commissioners. You get a prize. Okay. As I told you, we've got to do it in an odd year. We can't dilute the minority vote. Everybody's got to be focused on that because it is the federal law, okay? How do we make sure, what's the most important thing that we can do to make sure that redistricting is done fairly?
Follow the law.
Follow the law, yes, we have to follow the law, but why are we all here today? Because public involvement is so critical. Okay, we don't want just 1 or 2 or 5 or 6 people drawing these maps. We want to hear from everybody in the community. We want to make sure that neighborhoods aren't split in half, that communities where there might be a focal point like a church that's important to lots of neighborhoods is protected together. You know, that whatever binds a community together keeps a community in that district. So that's why you guys are here. I really, really want your feedback. All right, so I already asked you guys this, but just to drive it home, what is our goal with this redistricting effort?
Equality.
Fair representation for all. You get a Christmas towel. Okay, so I'm going to go over the standards again. Here are the standards. Equal or almost equal population numbers. We shall be nearly equal in population as possible, and that means residents. It doesn't mean voters. Okay, so think about that. So people who are under the age of 18, they're counted in the population. People who are in our jails, they can't vote if they're a felon. They are considered the population that's represented. So we're not just looking at voters. We're looking at even snowbirds. We're here in Trailer Estates. We have a lot of people who come here. If they are residents, but they don't vote here, they're still counted as population. If they're residents, now that's kind of a tricky thing because they have to spend a certain amount of time here, but they may vote in Michigan or Ohio or wherever they vote. If they're counted in the census here, they vote here. That is absolutely correct. The districts should be compact. They should be easy to understand, okay? We don't want to say, oh, you live on that road, but are you on the east or the west side after the third oak tree? No, we want it to be very easy to understand. So we want compact districts, ideally. The least amount of disruption to the district, and follow man-made or natural bodies. And that could be roadways or streams or rivers. Again, things that are easy to understand. Those are the boundaries that we should follow. And avoid splitting communities of interest. Okay, So one thing I'm going to share with you is that tomorrow is our land use day. And I am going to present something to my colleagues on the board, which is I'm going to say, hey, the school district has already adopted their redistricting maps, districts 1 through 5. I do not know if those districts meet our criteria. I don't know the answer to that. But I would like for our consultant to look at those maps and see if they do. And if they do, they should be considered as a third option because those maps have already been vetted and they have been approved. And so while each of us lives in a district for the county commission, it would be nice if we lived in the same district for the school board because otherwise it's a little more confusing. So I'm going to ask for board support to bring in that map that was approved by the school district and have it as a third option. We'll see if they support it or not. I don't know if they will. So that's pretty much my presentation, but I would love to hear from you guys. So we have a mic set up here. If you have questions that you would like to ask, now is the time to do it. So please step up to the mic with any questions that you have. Yes, Mr. Wright.
I got 3.
All right, you've got the floor.
I really don't need a mic.
No, we need you on the mic.
For your sake.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, the first one, you will be the 4th county commissioner I've talked to one-on-one. I've heard the collective pros and cons. When you all first met, you voted A and B to be presented. All right, turn it on. You voted for A and B to be presented.
Is he on? Wait one second.
You suggested, when you met together, you voted primarily for A. The one that the consultant would come up with. And you suggested in your opening remarks that you still favor A, and you suggested that Plan B does not account for planned growth. So what could you lay out and make clear from your perspective pros and cons of A and B, and do you personally still favor A, or are you just going to leave it up to input?
Well, today I'm not here to favor one map over the other. Today I'm here to gather information.
But you
okay?
did.
Today
Clearly, in your opening remarks, you favored one over the other.
Okay. Today I'm not here to favor one map over the other. Today I'm here to gather information. But I will tell you that for me, since you're asking, I do believe that map A1 of these two choices is the better map. And the reason for that are the reasons that I told you. It has compact boundaries. It preserves the minority communities in District 2 to the greatest extent possible. It doesn't disrupt the district too much. It maintains that western boundary where it is today and just moves east where the population is increasing. And, I'm always one of those people, if you know me, that relies on experts. So I say, when my car is broken, I go to the mechanic. When I am sick, I go to the doctor. And when I need a map redistricted, I ask for the professionals what their opinion is. So yes, I am favoring map A1 today over B, but I don't know what the future holds and how these maps will change.
So a majority of the commissioners voted to present A and B, which is why we're presenting A and B. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So is it fair to suggest that one of those plans is one of those commissioners' plans, as you did?
Map B was drawn by Vanessa Bosch. She told us.
But it was approved by a majority to be presented for consideration,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, just clarification. All right, the first one. You said that tomorrow at the land use, you're gonna take a look at the school boards because you said it has been vetted and approved.
Yes.
How about the inverse of that? How about because this is being vetted and approved as well, how about presenting this to the school board so that, in one case, someone might say, well, this is the tail wagging the dog or the dog wagging the tail, regardless, depending on your perspective. Why not the inverse of that? Why not have gone to the school board early on and said, hey, let's collectively work on this, and this is what I did. So you come up with that instead of saying one or the other and offering plan C.
Okay, so I think I follow your question, and here's the answer. So usually in a non-COVID year, and COVID has changed our lives, we would have gotten this data from the census months earlier, and there could have been much more time for coordination with the school district. There has been a little bit of coordination with the school district, but both the school district and the county commission said, oh my goodness, we have such a short time frame. We are doing our thing, you guys do your thing. And that is truthfully what's happened. And the school district approved their maps. Now, that's legal. There's nothing illegal about that. We don't have to have the same maps. But I like for things to be easy for the citizens to understand. And so that's why I just would like for us to consider their maps. Maybe their maps won't work for us. I don't know. You know, for example, I don't know if an elected official is drawn out of their district with the school district maps. I don't know the answer to that, but I think that it behooves the whole community to look at it to see if it makes sense.
And last question, could you provide a little bit more information on the federal law, the Voter Rights Act, when it was passed, which says, which drives us to have, one of our districts at least, to have roughly 50% minority representation?
Yeah, so I'm not an attorney, and I don't have all of the details on that or am prepared to discuss it. But we are required, our attorney tells us, we are required by federal law to make sure that we don't disrupt existing minority communities, especially in a district where they have now a vote that represents those minority communities. I will tell you this, that our county attorney's office has opined on that, and we have hired a specialist attorney. Our county attorney hired an attorney who specializes in election districts, and he's going to be opining on both of these maps to say, are they both legally defensible, or if one is not, why not? So that's to come.
When was the federal law passed?
I'm sorry, I'm going to move on to the next questions at the microphone because we can't take questions from the audience right now, but you're welcome to come back up here, Mr. Wright. And I asked
it when I was still at the microphone.
Go ahead, Chris.
Good morning, Misty. Thank you very much for putting this on.
Thank you very much.
When was the federal election law passed?
Yeah, I don't have the date, so why don't you tell us?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, I have a couple questions and a couple of things, too. I've looked over the maps, and I've seen all the statistics and everything. I, too, also preferred A because it simply looks nice. But one other question that I wanted to ask, because I'm not sure if, what comes first, the chicken or the egg. After these maps are eventually approved, does then the supervisor elections make the precincts within those maps, or are the precincts made first and then you have to file?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, because right now we all have precincts where we go to vote, right? And we did not consider, our consultant, I can't speak for Vanessa, but our consultant did not consider the precinct boundaries. They drew the maps, or he drew the maps based on the population and the things that we talked about today. So yes, if they don't run along precinct boundaries, then the precincts will have to be redrawn. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure because I've actually have the same database that the professionals do, and I've made about 20 of these maps.
Good for
and
you.
I've actually made quite a few. The one thing I wanted to say is that it's actually very easy to make these maps when you don't use precincts to get the numbers very similar. In fact, I think on one of them I have like a 16 person different in one precinct and mine is 5 on the other, but you can actually get them. When you suggested to the professional to draw the maps, and you mentioned all your criteria, is it not written somewhere based on the information I know since I worked with the census and since I've read the laws and everything, that when you reapportion, you're supposed to take the statistics you have and divide them evenly? There's nothing about plan for future growth, do this, do that. It's just take the 5 districts, make them even the best of the ability.
So what our consultant explained to us is that the districts should be divided fairly equally. You can never get to exact in population. Or what the law and the consultant also said, that if you do something different than that, like if you plan for future growth, and you do that consistently throughout all of the districts, not just one district or 2 districts, but if you use that same methodology throughout all the districts, that is also appropriate. So that's why we have one map that only divides the population equally and one map that plans for future growth, but it's done throughout all 5 districts.
And then the last question, you actually mentioned something about this. I read and you mentioned something about how the districts can't redistrict you out of your districts. Is that actually, I mean, in politics, people usually do that because that helps to decide who runs and who doesn't. But is there something stating that you can't redistrict people out of their districts if they're already in office?
So I recently heard that the law changed. It used to be at the state level that state representatives could be drawn out of their districts. That was allowed, but not at the local level. Now I've heard the law has changed and you can draw anybody out of a district, that is not a factor that has to be considered. But I think our board collectively has said, you know, that just really isn't very cool. Let's try to keep the representation within their district. So I've heard from them that they like doing that, but I'm not sure it's legally required.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for being here. Yes, thank you. Step right up. Tell us your name.
Jean Smith. I heard that there were 121 items on the December 14th agenda for the commission.
That sounds about
How much time
right.
is going to be allotted to the redistricting, and how much time to public opinion?
So one of the things I've asked for is a time certain for the redistricting effort, because again, I want it to be easy for people to participate, and I don't want them to have to come and sit at a meeting that's probably going to be 12 hours. So I have not heard yet if we have that time certain. I have requested it. And I would say even without the time certain, if I don't get that, we will take as long as it takes. Nobody should be cut short. And, you know, if we have to continue other matters because of that, this is the most important thing we're going to do in the next 10 years. So it deserves our attention. Thank you. Hello.
For the record, Jeffrey Carman. I applaud you for considering bringing up the item tomorrow about having the school board districts potentially become the same as the districts for county commission. They up until a couple minor changes, they did have almost the exact same districts for the last 10 years, where school boards coordinated pretty much the same thing with Manatee County. And in Sarasota, the reason why Manatee County has such a similar system Sarasota has is when Mike Bennett chose his deputy supervisor, he came from the supervisor elections office in Sarasota. So he had done all their redistricting for them. And that's why we now have districts where if you live in precinct 309, you live in school board district 3 and county commission district 3, which makes it easy, I agree. So I applaud you for bringing that up tomorrow at the meeting, and I think that should be definitely considered.
Thank you very much for those comments, and I would invite you to please come and say that to the board tomorrow. Because, you know, if you believe that, you should let them know. And if you can't be there, send them an email. Yes, sir?
Hi, Mike Sansoni. Was there any consideration given to eliminating the at-large and creating an additional district by eliminating the at-large seat?
So there was no consideration to eliminating the 2 at-large seats for another district. In Manatee County, we have an ordinance that says we're going to have 5 districts and 2 at-large commissioners. And there was a time when I used to work for the county that we didn't have at-large commissioners. We only had 5 districts. So it really is a decision that's based on what the board wants to do, and that should be based on what the community wants. And I was talking with someone before this meeting saying that there are pros and cons to that. You know, I could argue both sides of that.
Well, it would, in fact, based on Lake Ranch being the largest territory, having additional seats and providing equal representation. If you're looking at it from the perspective of equal representation, that would be a better methodology than the one presented by, I'm assuming the large representative presented one plan.
No, actually, this Plan B was created by our chairman, Vanessa Baugh. She represents District 5, Lakewood Ranch.
I mean, it doesn't seem to be logical to have such a large district and have such a small district within that district, within the system, because you have to keep the representation of minority representation. And since Lakewood Ranch and El Conquistador are going to be the 2 largest growing areas in the next 10 years, you're actually punishing representation by not cutting the districts down and changing your ordinance, make the 2 seats at large eliminated, thereby giving more representation.
I think your comments are very interesting, and I would encourage you to please let the whole board know about that. And the way that you can do that is you can go to mymanatee.org, and there is a button under the Board of County Commissioners that if you check the one box, you can write an email and it will go to all commissioners at the same time. So please, any thoughts that you have like that, it's really helpful to us to hear from you guys. While I'm waiting for the next person to come up with a question, let me tell you a couple of exciting things that we have. So Natasha is here with me today. She is one of our aides on the 9th floor, and she has created these overlays, which we thought it would be beneficial to be able to take a map and have the overlay of the existing districts so you can see how they're easily changing. They literally just came off the press. We haven't had time to tape them up here, but we're going to at the end of this discussion so that anybody who would like to clearly see the differences, you can see that. I also have little half sheets of paper at the table as you walked in. I would like to hear from you. I'd like to know, do you prefer map B, map A1, or something completely different? And give me your comments. And we're going to be creating a spreadsheet that I'm going to give to the whole board on December the 14th to say we've held 4 town halls, these are the people we've heard from, and this is what they asked us to do, so that everyone has that information. So it's really important that you give us your feedback. Any other questions while we're here? I'm not seeing anyone, so I'm so thankful for you all being here. We are going to now spend some time just walking around, looking at the maps, answering your questions, and we're here for whatever you need. Thank you for being here.